So, good morning. So, what are we to do next? Was there a question I had specified? You are to do the question for November 2019. We had started or you are to restart? It is November 2019, question what? Question 1. So you are to do the question for November 2019, question number 1, part B. Question number 1, part B. You are to do the question number 1, part B. So that question 1, part B is on page 31. When you go to page 31, you'll be able to get that question, which reads that Sasuma Limited is considering a review of its credit policy as a way of enhancing its working capital management. As a way of enhancing its working capital management. The following information relates to the company. Annual sales amounted to 6 million. Credit sales are 80% of the sales. Bad debts average 3% of all credit sales. Average collection period for the debtors is 45 days. Gross profit on the sales is 75%. So the company's cost of capital is 12% per annum. Terms of credit sales are net 16 days. So the company's credit manager is recommending a review of the credit policy. Is recommending a review of the credit policy of the company. The expected outcome of this action will be increase in total sales by 40%. Increase in the total sales by 40%. Credit sales will be 60% of all the sales. Average collection period will decrease to 30 days. Bad debts will increase to 5% of the credit sales. So additional part-time credit consultant will be hired at 500,000 per annum. Gross profit margin will increase to 80%. So terms of credit will also be 5/15, not 45. That term normally represents the discount rate. That term normally represents the discount rate. So all credit customers will enjoy the 5% cash discount subject to the terms. No change is expected in firm's cost of capital. The tax rate is meant to be 30%. The tax rate is meant to be 30%. So required, advise the company on whether to adopt the revised credit policy. So I had shown you the format whereby you simply prepare the income statement. You simply prepare the income statement on that page. You simply come up with the income statement. So in the income statement, there is before the change. There is the one before the change. Also after the change. Also after change. There is the one before the change. Also after change. So use them by those. Start off the sales. Start off the sales. So before annual sales was 6 million. After it is met to be. I am going to see increase in total sales after it is increasing by what percent? 40%. So get 140%. 140% of that 6. So how much is it? So they are similar, but get it for. So now we list the variable costs. So variable cost before they change, they get you the gross profit on sales. Are you able to see the gross profit on sales? Before it is what percent? 75%. Which means the variable cost is 25%. The variable cost will be 25% of that. Also, this one, but after the change, they give you a different figure. You see, after the change, the gross profit margin. Gross profit margin will increase to what percent? 80%. Which means the variable cost now will be what percent? 20%. 16 and 18. So we now get the gross profit. Now, so this one should be which one? That one is 45. The other one is how much? Now we less expenses. We should now be able now to less the expenses. Expenses. So when it comes to expenses, we start off with the bad debts. We start off with bad debts. So for the bad debts, you are given details about the bad debts. Before, bad debts were meant to average 3% of the credit sales. So you get 3%. So credit sales is 80% of the sales. Are you able to see where they said credit sales are 80% of the sales? So get 80% of the 6 million, then get 3% of that. Get 3% of that value. Leaders inspire trust. Leaders inspire trust. Anyone who has calculators? 1440. Sorry? 144. So after the change, they say bad debts will increase to 5% of the credit sales. So get 5%. The credit sales should be 60%. 60% of 84. Focus on maintaining the status quo. get 252. So apart from that, now there is other costs. There is something they gave you about part-time credit consultant. Are you able to see part-time credit consultant? The one after, before it was not there. Before it was not there. That's now a salary. Salary for the part-time. Before it was not there. But after it was being paid how much per annum? 500,000 per annum. That is now after. Then there is the opportunity cost of the debtors. Opportunity cost of the debtors. Remember, I had explained to you about opportunity cost of the debtors. Debtors are people who owe you money. Now that they have not paid you, you are losing on interest. If they pay you, you can deposit that money in the bank to earn you interest. So first you get the average debtors. So I gave you a formula on how to calculate the average debtors. Remember, it is the credit sales multiplied by average collection period. We divide by the number of days in a year. So credit sales is 80%. 80% of 6. That will give you the credit sales. Then multiplied by average collection period. Average collection period before. Are you able to see before the change? Average collection period for the debtors is how many days? 45. So multiplied by 45, divided by the number of days in a year. So when the question is silent, I said we use 365 days. But if it is given, you use the number of days that are specified. But now this one, I doubt what they have given you. So we divide by 365 days. Then the question had given you the interest rate. You can see the cost of capital is 12%. Before they change, cost of the company's cost of capital is 12%. That 12% is what we have as the interest rate. So before they change, the cost of capital is 12%. So we get 12% of that average debtors. Now to give us what is supposed to be the opportunity cost for the debtors. Experienced leaders understand. Experienced leaders understand that their plans 71 Then after the credit sales is 60% of 84. Then average collection period after the change. Are you able to see after the change? The average collection period will decrease to how many days? 30 days. So multiplied by 30 days, then divide by 365. So also get 12%, because they are saying the cost of capital did not change. They have said that the cost of capital did not change. That is at the end of the question. No change is expected in the firm's cost of capital. The next thing is confidence. Sorry? 59.7. 49.7. So apart from the opportunity cost for the debtors, this question also has discount. It had some discount. It had some discount. So we also include discount. So before, the discount was not there. Before, the discount is not there. But after, are you able to see where they say that the terms of credit sales? Terms of credit sales will be 5 over what? 15 net 45. So the 5 is now the discount rate. Yeah, That term, year 5 inamaanisha discount rate, and it is in form of a percentage. The 15 is the discount period, 45 is the credit period. So when you continue on the same, they say that all credit customers will enjoy 5% cash discount subject to the terms. So get 5% of the credit customers. They say all credit customers will enjoy the 5% discount. Credit customers are 60% of 8400. They embrace new ways of thinking. They embrace and struggle. Put that up in 252. So now subtract those expenses from the gross profit so that you get the earnings before the tax. So that you come up with earnings before the tax. Should empathize. So we can work together on this. So how much is the earnings before the tax, before the change? Sorry? 4284. 4284.99. Hayo ingine inakuja ngapi? 50. So now rest the tax, because the question had given the tax. You see down there before required, they say no change is expected in the company's profit capital, and the tax rate is 30%. So it applies to both. The tax rate is 30%. So you rest the tax, which is 30%. The question arises, and it doesn't mean all. The question arises, it doesn't mean all. This is similar to the proposition. This is similar to the proposition. This is similar to the proposition. Is management an act? So subtract to get the earnings after the tax. Earnings after the tax. You have to mirror what is passed to money. Leadership is not something that is entirely on its own. Leadership is submerged in management. So you can say that as a leader, for the longest time, you're always focused on management. Leadership sometimes is a consequence of management. Leadership is a consequence of management. So do you change? Mama, we don't change. Yeah. So we advise them to change the credit policy as it will lead to increase in the profits. The advice is that change the credit policy as it will lead to the increase in the profit. Change the credit policy as it will lead to the increase in the profit. So now so that is now the conclusion on the management of the working capital. So now we start a new topic. Our new topic is now the dividend policy. The new topic should be dividend policy. So online, confirm whether you have the notes for the dividend policy. So confirm online whether you have the notes for the dividend policy. Have you seen the notes on the dividend policy? Yeah, so let us go through those notes on the dividend policy. Our new topic is now the dividend policy. Our new topic is now going to be the dividend policy. So let us go through that handout for the dividend policy. We can now go through about the dividend policy. So when it comes to the dividend in the handout, they say that dividends are part of the earnings which are distributed to the ordinary shareholders for their investment in the company. So the company should consider the following factors when paying dividends. The company should consider the following factors when paying dividends. A, shareholders' expectation. A is meant to be the shareholders' expectation. Then B, restriction imposed by the creditors or debt holders. Restrictions imposed by creditors or the debt holders. Then C, availability of investment opportunities and the growth rate of the firm. Then D, access to the capital market. Access to the capital market. Then profitability and the liquidity of the firm. Then tax position of the firm, the industrial norms. There is also inflation rate in the company, the capital structure decisions, then also legal requirements. So you go through them. Those are normally the factors that normally influence the decisions that are paid in the company. And when you go to that page 2, there is somewhere a note, NB, where they have said that shareholders should not be the one to decide how much dividends a company should pay because of the following reasons. How much dividends the company should pay because of the following reasons. Number one, The shareholders and the company are two separate legal entities. The shareholders and the company are two separate legal entities. Number two, shareholders may not be having the technical expertise to determine how much dividend is to be paid. Then number three, there are several shareholders in the firm with different expectations. Hence, they are not likely to agree on the amount of dividend per share a company should pay. Then number four, there is normally an agency relationship between the shareholders and the management. Therefore, if the shareholders determine the dividend per share to be paid, it will be like the principal doing the work of an agent. So note, the dividend policy and the decisions include four critical issues. A, when should the firm pay dividends? When should the firm pay dividends? B, how should the firm pay dividends? Then C, how much dividend per share should the firm pay? Then D, why should the firm pay dividends? So when you start with the N, when should the firm pay dividend? They have said that a firm can pay dividend twice in the course of the year. It can be interim and final dividend or final dividend alone. Then major question on whether to pay interim and the final or final dividend only will depend on number one, the liquidity position of the company. Number two, the expectations of the shareholders. Then number three, the financial requirements of the firm. The financial requirements of the firm. Then how should the company pay dividends? The company can pay dividends in different forms. There is in cash, bonus or scrip issue, the stock split or the reverse split. The stock split or the reverse split. There is also the right issue, also the share repurchase. So we start with the A, cash payment. So this is the most common form of dividend payment. It depends on the liquidity position of the company, the company's financial requirements, Also being bonus or scrip issue. So bonus or scrip issue, it is also known as dividend reinvestment scheme. And it involves giving free shares to the existing shareholders instead of the cash dividend. The share in this case are given to the existing shareholders in the proportion to their current ownership. So I've given you advantages of the bonus issue. Number one, tax advantage. Then number two, it can reserve cash for the firm since there is no actual cash flow. It is an indication of high profits in the future. There is increase in the future dividends. So that's now about the bonus or the scrip issue. Then there is also the stock split or reverse split. So it is where a block of the share is broken down into small units so that the number of the ordinary shares increase and their respective bar value per share will be able to increase with the stock split factor. The stock split is meant to make the shares of the company more affordable to the lower income earners and increase the liquidity in the market. That's now for the stock split. Then down there, I've also explained the reverse split, but the number 4 way of paying dividend is the share purchase, the repurchase. This is where the company will buy back some of its shares previously issued using the shares cash that it would have paid out as dividend. So that's now about the share repurchase. Then the other one has not been explained. Remember the right issue. The right issue is also another way of paying dividends where shares, so we have done the topic for the right issue. That's why I've not included it there. Whereby you sell additional ordinary shares to the existing shareholders but at a price slightly below the market price per share. So you read that in your report. They normally ask you in the exam that forms of paying dividends. So those forms, you can be able to go through them. So my concern now is we go to the dividend policies. We now go to the dividend policies, which is there on page 3. On that page 3, when it comes to the dividend policies, they are saying that there are 4 major dividend policies that can be followed by a firm. Those are A, constant amount of dividend per share. Constant amount of the dividend per share. So under this policy, a company will pay a fixed amount of dividend per annum per share, regardless of the fluctuation in the profit. So dividends are increased only after an increase in the earnings appear clearly sustainable and relatively permanent. The following graph can show this policy. You see the graph? Yeah, so that's now for the constant amount of the dividend per share. Then the policy number 2 is constant payout ratio. For the constant payout ratio, we have said that under this policy, the firm will pay a fixed dividend rate, each 10% of the earnings. The dividend per share will therefore fluctuate as the earnings per share change. This policy can be shown by the following graph. So they gave you dividend per share and also the earning per share. Then constant dividend per share plus the extra. That's number C. So this is a compromise between the constant amount of dividend per share and the constant payout ratio. Those are the 2 policies we have discussed above. So it gives firm flexibility to increase the dividends during the year of high earnings. The extra dividend is given to shareholders in such a way that they don't perceive it as a commitment on the part of the company to continue this extra dividend in the future. This policy can be shown as follows. So you have seen how the policy looks like. Then D is the residual dividend policy. D is the residual dividend policy. Even that one, they say under this policy, dividend is paid out of the earnings left. Dividend is paid out of the earnings left over after investment decisions have been financed. Dividend will only be paid if there is no profitable investment opportunities available. This policy is consistent with the shareholders' wallet maximization objective. So I've given you an example about the 4 policies. So the examples reads that. The example now reads that the management of Viwanda Limited is in the process of evaluating the company's dividend policy. The following information is provided. The following information is provided. Number 1, the company paid 1.2 million as dividends in the last financial year. Note number 2, profit after tax in the last financial year was 3.6 million. Note number 3, the company has not issued any preference shares. Note number 4, the earnings growth rate has been consistent at 10% per annum for the last 10 years. Note number 5, the expected profit after tax for the current financial year are 4.8 million. Then the company anticipates investment opportunities worth 1.4 million in the current financial year. The company's optimal capital structure is 60% equity and 40% debt. So now required, determine the optimal total dividend for the current financial year if the company wishes to adopt each of the following independent dividend policy. Each of the following independent dividend policy. So we start with a pure residual dividend policy. We start with A as the pure residual policy. So we start with A as the pure. What is the pure residual? So under the pure residual dividend policy, we only pay dividends after all investment opportunities have been financed. That is what is indicated in the notes. When you check through the notes, we can only pay dividends after all available investment opportunities have been financed. So we start with the current profit or earnings. We start off with the current earnings. We start off with the current earnings. So current earnings are given. Current earnings are given in the note number 5. In note 5 is the expected profit after tax. The expected profit after tax for the current financial year are 4.8 million. Are 4.8 million. So we take that current earnings, which is 4.8 million. And now we less investment opportunities. Now less investment opportunities. Less investment opportunities. So investment opportunities. Investment opportunities. You simply take the note number 6. You see note 6. The company anticipates that investment opportunities wonder how much? 1.4 million in the current financial. But that figure, you go again the next note. You see the last note number 7. The company's optimal capital structure is 60% equity and 40% debt, which means out of the 1.4 million, 40% must come from debt. So the one which will come from the current earnings will be 60%, because this is what we need to equity. This is what we need to equity. So the capital structure is that 60% must be from equity, 40% must be from debt. So investment opportunities which will come from the current earnings, which will now be our equity, we get 60% of 1.4 million. We get 60%. 60% of the 1.4 million. We get the 60% of the 1.4 million. So that should be able to give us around which? So we get 0.84 million. So that difference now will give you the maximum dividend pay. Now give you the maximum dividends pay. Maximum dividends pay. So that should be able to give us So that is now when we adopt the pure residual dividend policy. When you simply take the current earnings, then you subtract the available investment opportunities. You subtract the available investment opportunities. That's now the pure residual dividend policy. So now we go to B. So B, they have indicated as constant payout ratio policy. So B is the constant payout ratio policy. Payout ratio policy. Constant payout ratio policy. So under the constant payout ratio policy, it is that we commute the dividend payout ratio. We can get the dividend payout ratio. The dividend payout ratio. So dividend payout ratio, it is given by dividends paid. Dividends paid divided by the previous earnings, the previous period earnings, divided by the previous period earnings. Yes. Divided by the previous earnings. So in the note number 1, you are given in the note number 1, it paid how much as dividend in the last financial year. So dividend paid was 1.2 million. In the note number 2, you are given the earnings in the last financial year. Profit after tax in the last financial year was 3.6 million. So that should be able to give you the dividend payout ratio. It should be able to give you the dividend payout ratio. So it is a fraction because it has so many decimal points in it. So it will be the same as 1/3. It's the same as 1/3. So maximum dividend to pay. Maximum dividends to pay. It should be equal to. It should be equal to. You simply take dividend payout ratio. Dividends payout ratio multiplied by the current earnings. Multiplied by earnings. Multiplied by the current earnings. So current earnings was there in the note number 5, the 4.8 million. 4.8 million. You are also able to look at it. So that is now when we apply. So we go to C. So C is supposed to be stable, predictable dividend policy. 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 So when we use that policy, we say that D1 is supposed to be equal to DO and 1 plus D. So D1 is the dividend to be paid. DO is the last dividend that was paid. Then G is the constant. So what you do, you take dividend that was paid last year, then you increase by the constant growth rate. Like now for this question, they had given you in the note number 1, dividend that was paid last year. In the note number 1, the question had given you dividends that was paid last year. Then when you go to the note number 4, the earnings growth rate has been consistent at 10% per annum for the last 10 years. Then, when you go to the required part C, they say that sustainable dividend policy, where they say growth rate being equivalent to what? The earnings. So the growth rate in the dividend is the same as the one for the earnings. So the last dividend paid in the note number 1 was 1.2 million. Then the growth rate is 10%. So 10% is the same as 4.1. So that should give you the dividend to be paid when we use the stable, predictable dividend policy. When we apply the stable, predictable dividend policy. When we apply the stable, predictable dividend policy. Visionary leadership style. Visionary leadership style. So after that, now we got to the Roma part D, regular plus extra dividend policy. Regular plus extra dividend policy. So regular plus extra dividend policy. Regular plus extra regular plus extra dividend policy. Regular plus extra dividend policy. So when you apply that policy, maximum dividend to pay, maximum dividends will be equal to regular dividends, plus the extra plus the extra transaction. So we start by calculating the extra. We start off by calculating the extra. We start off by calculating the extra. So to get that extra dividends, we start off with the current earnings. Start off with the current earnings. So those current earnings were given in the note number 5. The expected profit after tax for the current financial year is 4.8 million. 4.8 million. So we less investment. Opportunities. So investment opportunities, we had seen the 60% of the 1.4 million. 60% of the 1.4 million. Remember, it was 0.84 million. You also less. Now also less the regular dividends. Regular. So regular dividends are the same as the ones we paid under the stable predictable dividend policy. The regular dividends are the same as those ones you calculated for the stable predictable dividend policy. You got 1 point out. So it is 1.3 million. So the regular dividends, because for the last 10 years, that has been the trend. So the same as the one for the stable predictable dividend policy. So the difference now will give you the extra dividends. The difference now will give you the extra dividends. The difference should now give you the extra dividends. So once we have done that, so it is giving us which here 2.64. So now from there you can come up with the maximum dividends to pay. So maximum.
They offer guidance instead of commands.
Dividends should be equal to. So regular, we said, is the same as 1.32 million. Extra is now 2.64.
This value learning is a way of growing. This value learning is a way of growing. They have greater vision. Yes. They are self-aware. They are self-aware.
So the next one is now September 2021. There's a question for September 2021. Question number 2, part A. September 2021. Question number 2, part A. We check September 2021. Question number 2, part A. So you check on page 17. You check now on page 17. You can now check on page 17. There is a question number 2 at end. There is a question number 2 part A. So that question 2 part A, the one for Maridadi Limited. Maridadi Limited is a firm that operates in the textile industry. It is a firm that operates in the textile industry. So the firm's operating profit, that is earnings before interest and tax, over the next 5 years are forecasted as follows. Over the next 5 years are forecasted as follows. So they gave you the year 2021 up to 2025. You are given operating profits. You are given the operating profits. Then additional information, not number 1. The firm expects to incur fixed financing cost of 20 million in the next year. So fixed financing cost is the interest rate. The fixed financing cost will be the interest rate. So fixed financing cost is normally the interest rate. So that figure they gave you 20 million, you change it to 2 million. Because you want to put your earnings before interest and tax. All of them are less than 20 million, isn't it? Yes, there is 10 million, 12 million, 15, 16, and 8. So there is no way interest can be more than for all those years. For the 5 years. And then they have also said that this is expected to rise at a constant rate of what percent? 10%. So I would like you to change that figure. Instead of 20 million, we make it 2 million. That will be practical when we do the question. Because all of them will be negative if we use 20 million. Then there is no way a company can operate for 20 years with that kind of the interest. So it will definitely be declared bankrupt. Because you are paying, how about the principal? Where you get money to pay the principal? Well, that's only for the interest. So that's now the issue. We argue on that. The note number 2, the firm's acceptable investments to be financed each year are given as follows. To be financed each year are given as follows. So the year, then acceptable. So those are investment opportunities. Those are the same as the investment opportunities we have been using. Then they also say that the corporate tax rate is 30%. The number of the issued ordinary shares are 10 million. These are expected to remain constant each year. So now required, not number one. Dividend per share payable in each year, assuming the firm will adopt 40% payout ratio as its dividend policy. Then, number two, dividend per share payable in each year, assuming the firm adopts a residual dividend policy. So let us now continue to the, but before we answer any of them, we need to prepare the income statement. We shall first come up with the income statement. We shall first of all come up with what is supposed to be the income statement. We need to come up with what is meant to be the income statement. So in the income statement, so we have year one, year two, year three, year four, and also year five. We have year one, year two, year three, because they were for 5 years. They were meant to be for the 5 years. They were meant to be for the 5 years. So we start with earnings before interest and tax. Earnings before interest. So that one was given. So year one, you see the operating profit before additional information. 2021 is year one. They gave you 10. There are 3 zeros at the top. Then 12 millions and 15 millions. That's also 16 millions. Then also then we less now interest, because that is earnings before interest and tax. So now you less the interest minus. So interest for year one, it is 2 million. I changed the figure from 20 million to 2 million, but it is increasing by 10%. So when you increase 2 million by 10%, when you get 1.1 of 2 million, that's the same as 2.1. And so this one will be 22. Also increase that same figure 22 by 10% because it is increasing by 10%. 24. Also increase that one by 10%. 26. 26. Then the last one is how much? 29. 20. So now subtract those figures so that you get earnings before the tax. So that you get the earnings before the tax. So that you come up with the earnings before the tax. So year one is 8. So year two should be how much? Sorry? 8. Year three? 12. 580. Then year four. 13,338. Oh, you got it. Am I just that? Then the last one should be 15,071.88. So that's now earnings before the tax. So now you less the tax. So the tax is 30% of those figures. Tax will be 30% of the figures that you have just calculated. So get 30% of 8,000. So 30% of 8,000 is 20 what? 2,400. Then 30% of 98. 2914. Then the one for year 3. 3774. Then year 4. 4,000 and then here which should be 45, 21.54. So now get your earnings after the tax. Now get your earnings after the tax. We now come up with the earnings after the tax. Now come up with the earnings after the tax. So earnings after the tax for year 1. So your one should give us which 56. Then you have 2. 60. You have 3. 806. I think 93. And the last one is how much? 10. 0.26. So now we go to the Roman letter 1 of the question. Roman letter 1, you are to adopt the 40% payout ratio as it is dividend policy. So we now answer the Roman letter 1. Roman letter 1, they are adopting 40% payout ratio. 40% payout ratio. 40% payout ratio. So when they adopt 40% payout ratio, maximum dividend to be paid. For year 1, you simply get 40% of the 5600. Year 2, also get 40% of 6860. Also, the other one, you get 40% of 8806. Then that next one also come up with 40%. So that's not the maximum dividend to pay when you adopt. When you adopt the 40% payout ratio policy.
That the goal is achieved, people are focused on please give us the reasons why this situation is what is the requirement management, why we engage. So just look at the leadership on the these are the next. Also,
so they also wanted, in fact, they wanted dividend per share. You see, they wanted the dividend per share. So how much dividend are you getting for year one? The 40% you gave us how much? So you get the 2240 when you check in the note number 4. Note 4, they say that the number of the ordinary shares that were issued were 10. So divide each by 10 million. So here you divide by 10,000. So that you get the dividend per share for year one. You do the same for year 2. You still divide by the 10,000. You do the same for year 3. You also do the same for year 4 and also for year 5. You just divide them by 10,000.
so the next one here,
so that should be your Roman letter 1. Now we got the Roman letter 2. The dividend per share payable each year, assuming the firm adopts. The firm adopts the residual dividend policy. So now we got the Roman letter 2. We now got the Roman letter 2. Roman letter 2. When they adopt residual dividend policy.
Considers the income of the chief.
And they adopt the residual dividend policy. So, when they adopt the residual dividend policy, we start off the earnings after tax. So year one, we know it is 56. Year two, 68, 16. Year three, 88, 06. 93, 36.6. Then 10, 5, 5, 0, 26. So now you list the investment opportunities. You now list investment opportunities. You now list the investment. So for the investment, you got the note number 2. The firm's acceptable investment to be financed each year are given as follows. So acceptable projects for 2021 is 3,000. This one is 45. The other one is 5,000. The other one is 65. The other one is 7,000. So when you subtract, you now get maximum dividend to pay. Maximum dividends. You simply take the earnings available, you minus investment opportunities. So that now will give you the maximum dividend to pay. Like year one, is it 26? Yeah, and then you will also compute the dividend per share. Also compute the dividend per share. Like now for year one, you get 26 divided by 10,000.
The center leader set an ice standard. And the team members identify when members meet together. There's no grace. There's no grace. Yeah, I important. The just it goes. Yes, sir. You know what? They expect their team members to follow the rules and procedures. They are focused on it. We give they are focused on it. As the oppressive leader is, teaching audience. Strong will, because you know x not over y, over x Even yours. For the next, you must keep meeting. Don't struggle. Then number one happens. Leaders lay emphasis. Just lay emphasis on his relation with followers. Leaders lay emphasis on his relation with followers. On his relationship with followers. Leaders lay emphasis on his relationship. They lay emphasis on the values. They lay emphasis on the values. Ideals. Morals. And they are best suited for sexual the best for something
So now we proceed. We go to page 6 of your handout. We now go to page 6 of your handout. Page 6 of your handout for the dividend policy. Go to page 6 of the handout for the dividend policy. So page 6 is about dividend theories. Page 6 is about the dividend theories, where they have said that there are several theories which try to look at the relevance or irrelevance of the dividend payment. So we shall discuss some of those theories. So number one will be dividend irrelevance theory. Number one is dividend irrelevance theory. Dividend irrelevance theory. So when it comes to dividend irrelevance theory, they were able to give you the details that So the theory was proposed by Franco Modigliani and Morton Miller in 1961, who argued that the value of the farm is determined by the basic earning power and the farm's risk, and not by the distribution of the earnings. So the M and M is represented by Modigliani and Miller. So they said that the value of the farm, therefore, depends on the investment decisions, but not the dividend decisions. Their argument was, however, based on the following assumptions. So assumption number one is that no corporate and personal taxes. Number two, no transaction cost associated with share flotation. That is, the market is perfect and frictionless. Then C, the farm's investment policy is independent of the dividend policy. Then D, the market is efficient and therefore investors and managers have the same set of information regarding to the future investment opportunities. So that part was tested. That part was tested in the sitting of. So if you can refer to the sitting of November 2019, not 20, but 2018. When you go to November 2018, there is a question number 1, part A on page 40. When you go to page 40, there is a question, page 40, November 2018. Question number 1, part A, November 2018. Question number 1, part A. So that question 1, part A, they asked you to examine the assumptions. Examine 4 assumptions of Modigliani and Miller, dividend irrelevance theories. Those assumptions are the 4 that I've listed. So I've given you A, B, C, D. Those are the assumptions of the Modigliani and Miller. But there is another similar question. There is another similar question. So this one you check in the sitting of April 2022. April 2022, Question number 1, April 2022, question 1, part B. April 2022, question number 1, part B. April 2022. There is a question number 1, part B. That question 1, part B, it reads that state 5 arguments against Modigliani and Miller. Modigliani and Miller's view that dividend policy is irrelevant as a means of affecting the shareholders' wealth. So those arguments are the same as the assumptions. Argument against disadvantages or weaknesses are the same as the assumptions. So they wanted 5. So those 5, the first one was to be broken down into 2. You see the first one. No corporate taxes, it's a separate point. Also, no personal taxes. Because the question wanted 5 of them. That April 2022, question number 1, part B. So for them to be 5, the first point, break it into 2. There is no corporate taxes. Also, another point, no personal taxes. So those assumptions or weaknesses or limitations are the same as the argument against. So you are to explain those ones. You are meant to explain those ones. Then when you continue in the question, they have said that they were able to prove that dividend is irrelevant in determining the value of the farm using the dividend yield model. So that model for now, I will not be able to go into details, but there will be a question I will be doing, which is a computation. We shall go back to it. We shall go back to that part. So that's now the first one. When you go to the next page, when you go to page 7, are you able to see the theory number 2? The theory number 2 is about what? Bird in hand theory. So there is a question on that. There is a question on that in the sitting of August 2022. When you check August 2022, question number 3, part D. When you check August 2022, question number 3, part D. Are you able to see that question 3, part D? Where they have said that explain the following dividend theories. So Roman letter 1 is the bird in hand theory. Roman letter 2, the clientele effect theory. Roman letter 4, information signaling theory. So I've given you all of them. Number 2, the bird in hand theory. They are simply saying that this theory was developed by Gordon and John Lintner in 1963, who argued that a bird in a hand is worth 2 in the bush. Thus, when a shareholder receives cash dividend, he is better off than 1 receiving the capital gain. Capital gain will come at the end of the year, or when you sell the share. When you sell the share, that's when you get the capital gain. But dividend is paid each year at the end of the year. So assuming you will sell your share after 5 years. So after 5 years, when you sell is when you get the capital gain. But for the dividend, you are being paid at the end of each year. So that's why they refer to the dividend being paid as a bird in hand. But capital gain will come in the future. They refer to it as 2 birds in the bush. So you are not sure for that. So for them, they support payment of dividend. That's now the bird in hand theory. Then you have seen there is also clientele effect theory. That is a theory number 5 in your notes. The clientele effect theory. The theory was proposed by Petit, who stated that different groups of shareholders have different preference for dividend. So, for example, low-income earners will prefer higher dividend to meet their consumption needs, while the high-income earners will prefer less dividend so as to avoid payment of the tax. So that's now the clientele effect theory. Then the information signaling theory is there in the note 4. So note number 4 is this. So What I'm simply advising you, you get time, you read those details. So that same question had been tested. If you go back to the sitting off, when you go to May 2019, question number 1, part A. May 2019, question number 1, part A. So that question 1, part A for May 2019, it is on page 35. When you go to page 35, there is a question for May 2019. So part A, they were asking me to explain the following dividend theories. You see, number 1, information signaling theory. Number 2, tax differential theory, bird in hand theory, and agency theory. So simply read. Those theories are there on page 7. Those theories, all of them are there on page 7. So we agree you will get time, you read the handout. That information is there. You have seen most of the time they test those questions on the theory part. Now, the next question I want us to check is May 2014. May 2014. When you go to May 2014, so May 2014, question number 3. Okay, so you go to page 80. When you go to page 80, that's when you'll get May 2014. There is a question number 3. There is a question number 3 on page 80. So part A, explain the agency theory as applied in financial management. That is our theory number 6 in the handout. That's the theory number 6 in the handout. Then part B, they were asking you to discuss 3 factors that a company should consider when formulating the dividend policy. Those factors, I've listed them when you check on the first paragraph. When you check in the handout, the first page. When you check in the handout in the first page, there is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. Those are the factors we normally consider when you want to pay the dividend. Then part C is now the Modigliani and the Miller. You see the part C, they say Baraka Limited has a cost of equity of 10%. Currently, the company has 250,000 shares, which are quoted at the Securities Exchange at 120 per share. The company's earnings per share is 10, and it intends to maintain a dividend payout ratio of 50% at the current financial year. So when it comes to expected net income for the current year is 3 million, and available investment proposals are estimated to cost 6 million. So required. Using M&M model show that payment of dividend does not affect the value for the farm. So those formulas that you have seen there, you can see the formulas on page 6. Yeah, so need to simplify them when we meet in our next class. Yeah, saizi msisome sitawasumbua. What I will do, nikifanya hiyo swali, I will summarize it. I will simplify those formulas when we do the question. So in our next class, that will be the question we shall do it together. Not today. So last time we had a class afternoon. I think in the next class, in the course of the week. So I will simplify now those formulas. So that is now on that case, but that will be the last question we shall be checking on the theory. So for the theory, you read the handout. For the theory, we read the handout. So we can stop there for today. We can now stop there because it is time. So let us stop there for now.